So you heard the reaction from Moscow. Do you think the Trump administration might be making a mistake by saying there is no solution with Assad in power?
Well, when the Trump administration uses the words regime change, they're talking about a military effort to remove Assad. And that would mean putting American young men and women on the ground in battlefield conditions in order to accomplish that goal. So that would require ultimately a congressional approval, because that would be a step of incredible magnitude that would be breaking with the policy that we've had thus far.
Well, you're saying that by Nikki Haley saying that they don't see any sort of political solution where Assad is in charge, that they are essentially saying they will push for regime change, and you think that that would mean more ground troops, U.S. ground troops, because there are a few hundred in there right now.
Absolutely. That's what regime change means. It means doing in Syria what we did in Iraq in removing Saddam Hussein. I don't think there's any appetite in the United States for a massive additional military presence with young men and women actually in combat situations being introduced. Instead, what the Trump administration should be talking about is massive, crippling sanctions on the Russian company that is the principal arms supporter for Syria, and any other company or country in the world that does business with that company, Baron. That's where it should begin. And then the discussion should go to, one, that the Russians honor their commitment to remove all chemical weapons from Syria. They have not done that yet. Secondly, that they implement the ceasefire that they negotiated with Iran and Turkey inside of Syria. That has not been honored. That there be an agreement that humanitarian aid can be distributed throughout Syria. That has not actually been honored. And finally, that they go to the negotiating table and they try to find a political resolution with Assad, with all other parties at the table.
With Assad, so he needs to be part of the negotiation, you think?
In order to find an ultimate negotiated settlement, we must negotiate with the Syrian government, and the only way we can do that is if all parties, including the opposition, are at the table, and that Russia and the United States are enforcing this goal of ensuring that that negotiated settlement result in a government that all parties can live with.
I have not heard anybody from the Trump administration talk about calling for massive amounts of troops in Syria, but let me just ask you.
But that's what regime change means. There's no other way it can be accomplished.
But do you think that there is a possible future for Syria with Assad in charge? Because what Nikki Haley was saying, what Ambassador Haley was saying, is she doesn't envision one.
Well, again, that's where we have to wind up. But we have to go through a process by which we are tightening the noose around the Russian company, Baron, and anyone else that does business with it that is making it possible for Assad to stay in power. That's what we did in Iran by crippling their oil industry. Now we must do the same thing with Russia and anyone else that is providing arms to Russia. And then at the end of the day, obviously our goal would be to make sure that Assad is removed, but we cannot do it by saying regime change, because that's just a code for military intervention at a massive level by the United States.